Hello, everyone. I am so honored to be here with each of you. My name is Jenn Payeur, and I am the founder of Nature Provides. I have the privilege of sharing more about my life's work, which is focused on embryonic plant stem cells. So let me take you on a journey. I'd like to share more about what these are, where they came from, why haven't we heard about them before, and how they can support you in returning to amazing, amazing, perfect metabolic health. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen here. All right. So, Plant Stem Cells, Ancient Wisdom, Modern Healing. I picked this title because these have been around for a long, long time. And for some reason, they went underground for about 800 years and they've come back to the surface. And so, really, in the modern world that we're living in, which is very toxic, we're bringing the ancient wisdom of the plants and the trees to our modern world to support us on our healing journeys. And I just absolutely love this picture on the right. That is what the bud of the rosemary plant looks like. And you can just look at that picture and see the vitality and the life force that is exuded from the bud or the new part of the plant. So, what's going on in our world? In 1962, 6% of the population had a chronic disease, and we were spending as a nation about 4% of our GDP on healthcare. Today, we are at 60% having a chronic health condition. And actually, I recently heard that that number is closer to 70%, and children are at 50%. So we are in a staggering issue around our health and our metabolic health in particular. Over 1,000 ingredients allowed in our food, not allowed in other countries. And only 7% of Americans have good metabolic health, which means 93% are on the way to some chronic condition, diabetes, heart disease, the C word. So we are not doing ourselves any favors with the world that we're living in today. So let me tell you a little bit about my story. In 2015, I had a very threatening, life-threatening diagnosis. And this is a picture of me walking the Camino a year after my diagnosis, really searching for answers. Why me? I was somebody who ate very clean, I exercised, and I had high stress, and I was out of alignment with my purpose. I was working in financial services for 29 years, and I kept getting the nudge to leave, and I kept overriding the nudge. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. This is me 3 years later, coming back from a training, learning about plant stem cells. In both these pictures, what I notice about myself, which I don't even recognize that person anymore, is just how heavy and drawn and how dark my eyes are. And I look toxic when I look at those pictures. I can see the poor metabolic health that has manifested just in my skin, which is one of our, it's our largest organ. And it's what will really show a toxic load in the body. And then here is me last December in Turks and Caicos when I was in an event, a brainstorming mastermind. And you can just see the difference. I have vitality back in my skin. My eyes are brighter. And you can just see the huge difference. I don't have that heavy toxic load that is weighing me down. So, what are plant stem cells? Plant stem cells are the undifferentiated meristematic tissue that contains all of the genetic makeup of the plant. So really, it's no different than a human stem cell. It just comes from plants. So a human stem cell is an undifferentiated stem cell in the body. This is an undifferentiated stem cell in the plant. And in that undifferentiated state, that bud state or that new growth state, all of the juvenile phytohormones, phyto means light. So there are all these light hormones happening in that phase of growth in the plant. And it's the only time in that phase that you can get the stem cells. So that phase contains about 80% stem cells and also essential oils. So they contain both in that new growth. And here's a great article. I have a QR code at the end where you can get all of the science. But one of the things that this article says is that plant stem cells may be ranked among the most important cells for our human well-being. And I, for one, totally agree with that statement because of all of the amazing principles and what they bring to the human body. So this is a picture of our scientific director, Dr. Canillo. And essentially, stem cell remedies are drainage remedies, which means they are pulling toxins out of the cell, tissue, and organ. They're biophotonic, so they're bringing light. They are vibrational, so they have a frequency to them. They are informational, so they are bringing the communication network back online in the body where it has gone offline. And then they are regenerative, so they will regenerate things that have broken down in the body. The amazing thing, so we took a group of practitioners to Italy in May, and one of the things we discovered is that those buds contain dodecahedron water. So think of a soccer ball. That is pure sacred geometry. And so that water in the buds that is actually going into the tincture is creating coherence in the body. So everything begins to work together. A lot of the metabolic imbalances that we have today happen because the immune system is not recognizing that something is out of order. It's not recognizing that something is incoherent. And so that imbalance goes on for a long time in the body until a chronic illness happens. But what if you were working with plants that could bring that communication network back online and remind you that you were out of balance before it got to a chronic illness? And then they brought you back into full coherence and balance and homeostasis in the body. And you then are working in maintenance mode so that you are preventing versus trying to get out of a difficult situation. And then there's intentionality in every step in the process. And I'll go through that in a couple of slides. So where did these come from? I often refer to plant stem cells as the miracle of nature you've never heard of. Really, if you go all the way back, there was a woman named Hildegard of Bingen, and she was born in 1160. And in 1158, she wrote a book called Physica. And in that book, she talked about the buds of 8 different trees. So she was using plant stem cells for healing all the way back in 1158. And she was known as our first naturopath. So she told people to go out and stand in the sunshine, get sunshine, be in nature, drink clean water. So she was really a pioneer in natural therapies, and she was using plant stem cells. Who knew? And then for 800 years, you can't find any research, any documentation. It's almost like these little baby buds went underground. Nobody talked about them. Nobody wrote about them until Dr. Paul Henry in Belgium, who was an MD and also a homeopath, he started working with the buds of trees and noticed they were improving liver function and they were draining toxins from the liver. And then he had a student, Max Tito, who took his work and kept going. And he said, wow, really chronic disease is an accumulation of toxins in the body and a dysregulated immune system. And so he kept taking this to the next level and really focused on more and expanded the plants that they were working with. And then finally, current day, Dr. And Professor Fernando Patera, who is from Italy, but is doing a lot of work in Romania. And he has written several books, and he's the one who really brought the focus to the cellular level or to metabolic health. And so a lot of his work is tied to metabolic health and how the plant stem cells improve that functioning in the body. So more and more research coming out, more and more people talking about these. These are well known in Europe. And my mission is to bring them out more to the US so that we can use this modality, which is so much needed in the world that we're living in today. So we love the phrase from bud to bottle. So all of these buds, here's a picture of the Italian Alps when we were there in May of this past year. And you can see these are just plants in the wild. And so all of these buds are picked at a specific time in the wild in the Italian Alps. Nothing is sprayed. They are far away from any pollution. There are no heavy metals. And it really is nature in its prime or in its full vitality. Once that bud is picked, within a few hours, it has to be macerated. We use organic grape alcohol and organic glycerin because those are very clean, to pull out the active principles. And once the active principles are pulled out, after the maceration period is complete, the plant material is scooped out, it's pressed, it's burned, that's called spagyrics, and the ash is put back into the liquid and it's spiralized. So there's a condensation process that happens. So 1,000 times a day, it's spiralizing and spinning, which makes it more structured and more bioavailable in the body to be able to take them in. And just note, we love nature. We don't ever take more than 20% of the buds off of the trees because we want the trees to thrive. We want the mother plants to keep growing and thriving. And we want nature to continue to reproduce in its beauty. I just walked through this process. Just note here up in the right-hand corner, that's what the buds look like. That's my hand from last year looking at the buds. And we had all picked a few. So get a sense and appreciation for that. And there is no water added to the process because the buds contain 70 to 80% water, just like humans. And so there's no reason to add water. It's just the dodecahedron water that is in the plant bud that comes into the tincture. So another question I get asked often is, what is in the plant stem cells? Well, there are really kind of three areas. All of the hormones, those phytohormones that I talked about, you can only get these in that growth phase of the plant. So an adult plant will not have auxins, gilbillarins, cytokinins, abscisic acid, rosinosteroids, jasminic acid to the level and the degree that these have. They also contain peptides and nitric oxide. And then they have a group of primary metabolites, things like fatty acids, amino acids, nucleotides, and secondary metabolites, which are going to be your flavonoids, your phenolic compounds, your terpenes, all those feel-good hormones that you have with plants are also in this. So they are very, very complex and very, very dense in all of the things that they contain in that phase of new growth. And it's multi-layered. So these are working on the microRNA, on circulating RNA, on methylation processes. So there are things like MTHFR. A lot of folks are having trouble detoxifying because their methylation pathways, or they carry a gene that is blocking that. The plant stem cells work brilliantly on those levels. I would say that's one of the best things that they do. And they also help with histone modification, so histamine reactions, things like that. So they really are very complex and very magical in all of the different layers that they bring to healing. So how do they work in the body? Here's a picture that we took in Italy in May. Plants make me happy, so that's why I have such a big smile on my face. But they're really, really wonderful for acute issues. That is, I got stung by a bee, I was bitten by a fire ant, I ate something, I'm having an allergic reaction. They work really, really well and very immediate to address that histamine reaction in the body. They also work on the immune system. So they are regenerating and rebuilding up the immune system. They are cleaning up the cells, the tissues, and the organs. So they're doing a mass cleanup of that toxic load in the body. They are balancing the central nervous system. And this is something that I'm pretty passionate about, that I've learned over the last several years, that if the central nervous system stays in fight or flight, it's really, really challenging for any remedy to work in the body. So you've really got to get the nervous system out of fight or flight and into a state of peace and calm so that it can be receptive to, whatever supplements, whatever food you're eating, etc. Really, really important to balance the nervous system. And then the last thing they do is they bring that vitality, that light, that coherence into the body. And when I refer to the body, I'm referring to your belief system. So the mental body, the emotional body, the physical body, and the spiritual body, because plants do work on all four of those levels, which make them really, really compatible with us, because that's what we're made up of. We're made up of all four of those levels. The plant stem cells are anti-aging, so they rejuvenate organs, skin and tissue, and cells, as I mentioned. But as you might remember from my pictures, I look much younger than I did 10 years ago because that toxic load is not there. So they're anti-aging. They're supporting the organs. And so when there's a constant influx of toxins, things like our kidneys, our liver, our colon really take a hit, and it makes it harder and harder for them to offload those toxins. So the plant stem cells support that process in the body. They are repairing RNA and microRNA to support the DNA in the body. So when there's a methylation issue, as I mentioned, these are turning the good genes on and they're turning the bad genes off. And they especially work on oncogenes, so the genes that prevent us from getting things like metabolic issues, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, et cetera. They also are oxygenating in the body. So we know that dis-ease cannot exist in an oxygenated body. So they are bringing enzymes and nutrients and trace minerals and amino acids and all of that to the body. And then lastly, they are really cleaning up the intracellular and the extracellular matrix in the body. So that is the communication network. I know when I was going through my health crisis, that my immune system was not recognizing that I had a problem. And that's why it just kept going and going, and why I ended up in in a life-threatening situation. So had I been working with these earlier, I am confident that things would have turned out differently in my overall health. Which is why I'm so passionate about working with these and where they fit into the healing journey for folks. One of the questions I get asked all the time is there science that proves what these are and how they work? Yes, there absolutely is. More and more is coming online. If you use your camera, you can take a picture of this and access all of the articles that are out there on plant stem cells and how they work in healing. And some of them are specific to a certain plant, and some of them are specific to a certain health condition. But there are about 25 articles here that you can access to find out more. And then going back to the science question, these are pictures of our supplier here and the equipment that they've created to be able to mimic what happens naturally in nature. So there is a lot of science behind it with the products that we use and with our company. The oven there in the second picture is the spagyric process and how they burn that and put that back in. They test every single batch that comes out to make sure that there is nothing that is not supposed to be in our bodies in those products. So highly, highly regulated and tested. And this is some of the very, very new science that we came upon when we were in Italy in May. If you look at these two pictures, start on the right first. Dr. Canillo was walking by with two test tubes, and he had a blue light on in the laboratory, and one of the test tubes lit up, and that was actually from the spagyric process. So that was water that came out from the spagyric process. So that shows you the light that just the spagyric process is bringing into the body. Spagyrics were founded by Paracelsus about 400 years ago. So it's been around for a long time, especially used in Europe, but it's literally bringing light into the body when you're using the spagyric process. And then on the left, the picture that you see here in the test tube is not the test tube, in the contraption here. I don't know what to call it, the beaker, where that's that condensation process that's happening in the tincture and the liquid 1,000 times a day. And you start to see the light, the photons that get produced as a result of that process as well. So a massive amount of light coming into the body and lighting up the cells. And this is a picture of quantum coherence. So that cellular water mixing in with the spagyric process. And you'll see they look like little squares, 3D squares. That is starting to create that dodecahedron quantum coherence in the body. So that is what it looks like. And I just am in love with that. And then here is a picture of skin cells that Dr. Canillo took in the lab. And if you look at, these are seconds after using a plant stem cell and what happens in that cell. So in the 330 seconds, that's about 5.5 minutes. And then you go to 8 minutes, and then about 12 minutes, 15 minutes. And the last picture over here on the right, the 1186 seconds, that's almost 20 minutes. You can see the light that is coming into the cell after a time period of consuming the plant stem cells. So really that light, that coherence in the body is what differentiates them, because they have an energetic impact on the body similar to a homeopathic remedy, and they have a biologic similar to an adult herb. So if you take homeopathy and adult herb and they had a baby, it would be these plant stem cells, because they are the only plant remedy that really has both of these aspects, and how they can shift the energy in the body as well as a physical issue and bring it back into alignment. So let's talk about some plant stem cells for breast health. One of my all-time favorites is chaste tree. Chaste tree is one of the best plants that balances progesterone and estrogen production in the body. It helps bind to receptors in the body. And really, if progesterone is low, and I would say most women have low progesterone, it will come into the body and help understand where that is coming from. And it will start to rebalance the origin of that issue. It also stimulates melatonin secretion. It helps with infertility. It's great for any type of endocrine disorder, but it's also good for the spleen. And the spleen is a huge, huge part of our immune system. So when the spleen and the liver are in balance, our immune system's in balance. Also really, really great for postpartum depression and for menopause, perimenopause, any hormonal related issues that are causing an imbalance. Chaste tree is the best plant for that. Next up is grapevine, and hopefully you all have those there in the room with you, because I sent some of these as a raffle. Grapevine is, again, a really amazing, amazing plant. You might not have heard of it, but it comes from the leaves of the grapevine. So it's going to contain a high, high level of resveratrol, which is highly anti-aging, but it is a wonderful antiviral, antibacterial, anti-inflammatory. It contains more vitamin E than most supplements, so 2.4 times more vitamin E and 4.8 times more vitamin C, and 7.3 times more beta carotene than what you will find in regular supplements. This is also a fabulous plant for any herpes or any level of herpes zoster infections. So shingles would be another one, chicken pox. It's great for any osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, Crohn's disease. It's a chelator of lead. And a lot of us have lead in our systems and other heavy metals. And it's a really great stimulator of our white blood cell count. So it helps keep us and our immune system strong. So this is a plant that I use a lot for immune system help and support. And it also is great for viruses. And a lot of metabolic issues are driven by long-term viruses like Epstein-Barr virus and Lyme. So this is a great plant to use for that. Holly is another plant. We may think of holly Christmas time, and yes, that's the plant I'm talking about. This is one of the best plant stem cells for fibrocystic breast issues, and a lot of women have dense breasts, and this is amazing to address that and address any formation of cells that are out of integrity in the breast. It's good for mastitis as well. And it's really, really amazing for mastodynia, which is when men develop breasts. So it's really great for that, and also good for gut issues and skin issues. So this is a really wonderful plant. And this is one that I use a lot for fibrocystic breast issues in women. Oriental plane tree. So this is probably a plant you haven't heard much about. This has estrogen antagonistic activity. So you think about a pharmaceutical drug called tamoxifen that a lot of women go on for 5 years after a diagnosis. You can use Oriental plane tree without all of the side effects, and it keeps the good estriol on board. Again, also great for skin issues. It inhibits platelet aggregation. This one is also good for things like Lyme. It's an anti-inflammatory, and it's also an analgesic. So where you might have some sensitivity, some pain, this is a really, really wonderful plant for that as well. And then white birch is a heavy hitter. It comes from the internal and external new bark on the tree, also from the buds and from the male catkins. So it comes from several different parts of the tree and that new growth. This is a very amazing diuretic. It's great for the kidneys. It's a blood purifier. This is a plant that if somebody chooses to, go the Western route in dealing with a metabolic issue, this is really protective. So this is a great plant to protect the kidneys and the liver, and it contains betulinic acid. Betulinic acid has been studied. It's one of the research areas where we've got a lot of information on. It is known to create apoptosis of cancer cells and leave healthy cells alone. So this is amazing to support liver, kidneys, joint pain. It's also great for allergies, and it's an endocrine stimulant. So again, when things have kind of fallen out of integrity in the body, this will bring things back online. It's a really, really powerful plant, but also a very gentle plant for folks to use. And then the last plant I'd like to highlight here is called sweet chestnut. It is a wonderful, wonderful plant for the lymphatic system. We have finally caught up and now understand that the fascia and the lymphatic system are two systems that have been ignored for far too long. They are a huge component of our health. When people feel stuck or an issue is not clearing up, it's often because there is stagnant lymph or stuck fascia. So this plant is wonderful for lymphatic drainage, for circulation. It's good for the entire venous system and circulatory system. So any venous issues, varicose veins, hemorrhoids, really, really wonderful plant. This is a plant that I personally work with at least once a quarter just to keep my lymph system open and free flowing and moving so that everything keeps moving and is in flow and balance, and I stay healthy. There are books on plant stem cells. Here are several, and that's about it. There are about 12 books in circulation on plant stem cells, and I have all of them. I've read all of them, and I am adding to it. So by the end of this year, I will have a book out called Ancient Plant Wisdom, Modern Healing. It is about 75,000 words, so it's a pretty good sized book. And really, my mission in writing this book was to give everyone a resource to go to understand how these work, what the science is, why they work. And I have a materia medica of over 100 plants so that you can get to know those plants and how they can support you in your healing journey. I'm also thrilled that I have a documentary coming out by the end of the year. If the divine universe aligns, these will be coming out around the same time, end of November, early December. And the point of the documentary is really more about my healing journey, but also about these beautiful plant remedies. Our filmmakers came to Italy with us in May, and so we have amazing footage of really, you'll get to see what this is like, what the environment is like, and you can see the magic that this whole process contains and the intentionality and how it can support you on all levels. There is research. So our supplier, Fourth of Italy, which means vital life force. They are certified, they are organic, biologic, holistic, and they follow goods manufacturing practices. This is a picture of Dr. Canillo, our scientific director, and he has every certification that you can imagine. He's a molecular geneticist, he's an herbalist, he's a chiropractor, he studies pathology, and he's a biochemist. So he is always looking at how to balance the body. And this is a huge modality that he uses in his own personal practice. And then we have the lovely Dr. Christine Schaffner, who is a naturopathic doctor in Seattle. She's our medical director. And she went with us to Italy in May. And she supports our work and everything that we're doing around getting these remedies out to the world. And then I just want to share one more picture here. So even the name of our company, Nature Provides, you can find us at nature-provides.com. If you don't have the hyphen, you'll end up at a company in the UK. So please make sure you include the hyphen. And we were looking for a name for the company, and this is Vito. He's the CEO of Forza Vitale. He's Dr. Canillo's son. And we were in New York, and he picked up a National Geographic magazine, and I looked at the back and I saw the words Nature Provides, and I asked him to turn the magazine around, and there was the name of our company. So even the company name came through in a very divine way and in a magical way. And we do truly believe that nature provides everything that each of us needs for our healing journey, that each of us is, I'm going to stop sharing here, each of us, anything that we've created in our body, we can uncreate, that we are our own best healers. And there are natural remedies out in the world that can support each of us. This is one that I'm passionate about because of my own health journey and the many clients that I've worked with, that I've watched come back into their natural state of vitality and perfect health and whole healing. And I'm just thrilled to be able to share this with you. My email is jen@natureprovides. Don't forget the hyphen. And I'm happy to answer any questions for you and share any more information. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I went quickly because I was trying to comply to a time frame, but I'm excited for you to learn more about these beautiful plant remedies. And I look forward to supporting you on your healing journey. Thank you.